I am Paul Bartolome G. Casseeding. I will discuss to you about the ethical considerations in educational research. In educational research, ethics begin with respect for audiences, and the use of clear, non-discriminatory language. These responsibilities weren't created at random. They were shaped by tragic failures in research history, such as the inhumane experiments in Nazi Germany and the unethical Tuskegee syphilis study, where participants were deceived and denied proper treatment. In response, the U.S. created federal guidelines to protect human subjects, culminating in the 1978 Belmont Report. This report established three essential principles that all researchers must follow. Beneficence, maximizing benefits while minimizing risks. Respect for persons, protecting individual autonomy and ensuring informed, voluntary participation. And justice, making sure the risks and benefits of research are shared fairly. These principles guide researchers like Maria today, ensuring that every study honors the rights, safety, and dignity of the people who make research possible.
As ethical standards in research became more defined, campuses across the country took action. They established dedicated offices to ensure that all studies followed the three core ethical principles: beneficence, respect, and justice. From this effort emerged the Institutional Review Board, or IRB. These boards evaluate research proposals to make sure participants are protected every step of the way. And the stakes are high. If a campus receiving federal funding fails to protect research participants, those funds can be withdrawn. That's why educational researchers must understand the IRB process, how to apply for approval, what guidelines to follow, and how to design clear ethical consent forms that guarantee participant safety. In research, ethics isn't just a requirement, it's a responsibility, and the IRB helps ensure that responsibility is met. Professional associations. Ethical guidance for researchers doesn't come from laws alone. Professional associations also provide powerful standards that help protect participants and uphold integrity in research. Groups like the American Educational Research Association, the American Psychological Association, the American Anthropological Association, and the Joint Committee on Standards for Educational Evaluation all offer clear guidelines on how researchers should conduct ethical studies. According to these standards, participants have important rights. They deserve to know the purpose of the study, how their information will be used, and how the results might affect their lives. They also have the right to refuse participation or withdraw at any time, no questions asked, and when they do participate, their anonymity must be protected. Researchers must avoid offering excessive financial incentives that could pressure someone into joining a study. And finally, participants should gain something meaningful from the study. Ethical researchers look for ways to give back, whether that's sharing royalties from a book or volunteering time in the community. Because in research, every participant deserves respect, and every researcher has a responsibility to uphold it. Ethical practices throughout the research process. Ethics in research isn't just a checklist. It's not limited to professional standards or institutional review board requirements. Instead, ethics is a guiding mindset, one that shapes every step of the research journey. From the very origins of a study to the moment it's completed and shared, ethical decisions must remain front and center. As researchers, we're reminded that ethics should never be an afterthought. It should lead the agenda, influencing how we design a study, interact with participants, and report what we discover. Among all stages of research, ethical concerns most often arise during data collection, when people are directly involved, and during the reporting and distribution of results. These steps carry the greatest responsibility because they directly affect the rights, safety, and trust of participants. There are many issues to consider, and we'll explore several of them. But the core message is simple: ethics is not a box to check. It's a commitment to honoring people throughout the entire research process. Ethical research starts at the beginning and stays with you until the end. Some ethical issues in data collection. When conducting research, especially in real-world settings like schools, community centers, or workplaces, one principle must guide every step: respect for the research site. This respect begins long before any data is collected. Respect starts with something simple: gaining permission before entering a site. As a researcher, you are a guest.
Someone stepping into an environment where people work, learn, and live. That means minimizing disruption, being mindful of routines, and ensuring that your presence does not interfere with daily activities. Lincoln Public Schools in Nebraska provides a clear example of this. Their guidelines explain several reasons a research project might be denied. A project may be rejected if it takes away too much instructional time, requires excessive teacher, administrator, or office workload, interrupts the district's own data collection or ongoing research, occurs during the first or last month of school, or arrives too late in the year to be reviewed properly. These rules help ensure that research supports, rather than burdens, the learning environment. Working with gatekeepers. Another crucial way to respect a site is by working through gatekeepers, the officials who safeguard access at different levels of an organization. In a high school study, for example, permission wasn't just needed from one person. The researcher had to consult the school board, responsible for protecting participants, the district's research official, the school principal, the classroom teacher, and even the students themselves, along with their parents. Each gatekeeper plays a role in protecting people and ensuring the research is appropriate and ethical. Working with gatekeepers. Another crucial way to respect a site is by working through gatekeepers, the officials who safeguard access at different levels of an organization. In a high school study, for example, permission wasn't just needed from one person. The researcher had to consult the school board, responsible for protecting participants, the district's research official, the school principal, the classroom teacher, and even the students themselves, along with their parents. Each gatekeeper plays a role in protecting people and ensuring the research is appropriate and ethical. Empowering participants. Ethical practice also means never pressuring anyone into signing a consent form. Consent must be voluntary, informed, and free from any kind of coercion. Researchers should avoid creating power imbalances, especially when working with minors, marginalized groups, or communities with historical experiences of exploitation. They must also respect the cultural norms of indigenous groups, ensuring that research practices align with community expectations and traditions. Respecting the site, working with gatekeepers, gathering data ethically, and honoring cultural norms. These are not just rules, they're commitments. Commitments to the people who open their doors to us, commitments to communities that trust us, and commitments to conducting research that truly serves the greater good. Ethical research begins with respect, and it must remain at the heart of every decision a researcher makes. Some ethical issues in data reporting. When a study is complete, the responsibility of a researcher doesn't end with data collection. One of the most important ethical duties is showing respect for the audience, the people who will read, interpret, and use the findings. Honest reporting. Respect begins with honest reporting. Findings must never be altered to fit predictions or satisfy interest groups. Data should speak for itself, truthfully and transparently. Sometimes, it may be appropriate for the primary researcher to share a preliminary copy of the publication with people at the research site. This keeps communication open and ensures accuracy about how the site is represented. Giving proper credit. Another essential responsibility is acknowledging the work of others. Researchers must not plagiarize. Any ideas, quotes, or findings from earlier studies require proper citation, naming the author, the publication date, and including the work in the reference list. This isn't just an academic rule, it's a matter of integrity and respect. Clear, accessible communication. Ethical reporting also means writing in a way that people can understand. Research should be free of unnecessary jargon. It should be accessible not just to scholars, but to the communities and participants who are part of the study. As educators and researchers, we have a responsibility to communicate the practical significance of our work so that others can learn from it, build on it, and put it into action. Share the findings. High-quality research should never be hidden away. It has to be shared openly, even when the results challenge expectations or contradict widely accepted beliefs. Publishing and distributing results is an ethical mandate. Knowledge grows only when findings, positive or not, are revealed. The integrity of research. In the end, ethical reporting is about integrity, honesty in data, respect for others' work, clarity for all audiences, and a commitment to share what we learn. These values ensure that research remains a trusted tool for learning, progress, and positive change.